Hello, welcome along to a brand new Chairboys Live. My name's Dan Simpson. Forgive the hair and forgive the delay as well. I'm sorry we've not been able to do this for a few weeks, but we are back. Tuesday night football off the back of a difficult, disappointing performance and result at Stoke. Wycombe travelled to the Cayenne Prince Foundation Stadium. QPR 16th in the league, 43 points. And it all kind of comes from after our match back in December, just before Christmas, just before the new lockdown. Do you remember that? Anis Mehmeti got us a 1-1 draw. And then they kind of turned the screw. Well, with re-signing Charlie Austin, they went on a fantastic run. But they've slightly dropped recently. They've won only 2 of their last 5. So this might be a good chance for the Chairboys to come out of West London with 3 points. We'll keep you busy for the next half hour or so. We'll get the opposition view. We'll watch some highlights as well. And we'll get the team news in just a sec. Before we do that, here's what I want to hear from you, if you'd be so kind. Obviously, where you're watching in the world, and the worldwide Wycombe phenomenon is always nice. Leave that in the YouTube comments below. But something was flagged to me on Twitter earlier this week. It was a feature that we ran in our programme almost a decade ago, written by our very own Matt Cecil, no less, called The Anatomy of a Chairboy, where we tried to piece together the perfect wanderer, as using the best bits from everyone that had played in the quarters before. And we sorted that out a decade ago, but I thought, it's 2021, a brand new decade. Maybe we could do one for the 20s. So here's what I'd love to hear from you. What parts of what players do you want to see make up the perfect Chairboy? Maybe JJ's left foot, maybe the Beast's biceps, maybe Sergio Torres' hair. And come on as well, whose face do you want? Let's put it out there. Who's the most attractive Chairboy we've had in a while? I mean, let's be honest, the only time my girlfriend comes to watch football is when Nat Bloomfield plays. So who would you like to see? Who makes your perfect Chairboy? Let me know in the comments below. 4 changes for the Chairboys. Let's catch up with Matt Cecil, who's here at the Cayenne Prince Stadium as well, and see how we're looking. Hey, Matt.
Hello, Dan. You are approximately 10 metres away from me, so it's
hello. I'll give you a nice little wave.
We've missed you, see, these last 2 episodes. Yeah, great to be here. That behind me, the away end, Wycombe fans may remember that from about 20 years ago. A few meetings we had here, a thunderous 4-3 defeat with 2 red cards and penalties and all sorts. And I remember the aggro that day with the stewards not letting us in the bottom tier, and everyone cramped in the top. We were behind a restricted view fence, and it all just got a bit lively. There was a 2-1 defeat, I think, a year later, and a 0-0 draw in 2003 where Gareth Ainsworth played for QPR, and that was the last time our paths crossed, obviously, until this season in the Championship. Our visit here in January was delayed, postponed the day before because of the COVID outbreak that Wycombe had. And I think at that point we were 6 points off QPR. They were just above the drop zone. We were, I think, bottom of the league, but not really too far off QPR. And since then, they've had a real upward trajectory. The signing of Charlie Austin really a catalyst for them in the middle of January. And as Wycombe know, we haven't really got going. We had the 2 great wins in February, the win at Huddersfield, having been 2-0 down, beating Reading 1-0. And I think at that point, the last thing we needed was a run of games against Norwich, Watford and Stoke. 3 really tough teams with Premier League parachute payment money and strong squads, and they've just kind of taken their toll. So now we meet probably a stronger QPR side than we would have met in January. But we do have a run of games where you feel against Preston, Coventry coming up, Luton, Rotherham, Blackburn, over the next month. Those are the games. If Wycombe have got any chance this season, they've got to be winning, not just picking up points at places like QPR, and that's no disrespect to them. But let's hope the side that Gareth has picked tonight, which I know has raised a few eyebrows, but we've lost 3 games in a row, so it's like name an 11 that deserves the starting lineup. Because collectively, obviously, it hasn't really clicked over the last week or so. So some interesting changes, and I know the boys will be raring to go, and they know it will be a special win for the gaffer coming back to what was Loftus Road, now the Cayenne Prince Foundation Stadium.
Well, let's talk us through those 4 changes then. So, I mean, Alex Samuel gets a start for the first time in a long while for him. Alex Samuel, that was such a figure last season for the Chairboys. Obviously scored in the playoff semi-finals, did bits for us in the FA Cup as well this season. And I think he would be one knocking on Ainsworth's door when we haven't really scored many goals recently, saying, look, Gaffer, the players you're picking aren't really scoring. Surely I can do a little job here. What do you make of that?
Yeah, his first start since we played Coventry back in December. Alex, a really patient guy, won't be knocking on the manager's door, not with any force anyway, because he'll understand the predicament that we're in. He'll understand that his goal-scoring record doesn't make him an automatic conclusion. But what he does do is he wins those free kicks, he brings others in, he holds the ball up well, and they'll have worked on something, releasing Anis Mehmeti, who's becoming more and more of a key player in that number 10 role behind the front line. Horgan and Musquet as well. Gareth was really impressed with Admiral Musquet at the weekend. He's had to wait patiently for his chance, and I think he took it against Stoke. Alex, will be the same. He's got the bit between his teeth. He probably knows he's got one chance to impress tonight because you've got a big name in Uche Ikpeazu on the bench, and if Alex doesn't fire tonight, then Uche probably comes back in against Preston on Saturday. In terms of the changes, interesting to see Josh Knight drop probably back into defence. Anthony Stewart sitting out this one, he's on the bench. Joe Jacobson, captain at left back, Tafazoli and Knight, the centre halves, with Jason McCarthy at right back. Again, there's been some debate over whether he or Jack Brimmer are best suited at right back.
Have we just lost you there, Sess? Oh.
Hopefully not. I can see myself. I don't know if you can. Hang on. I wasn't on the Wi-Fi because I didn't know if it would stretch, but let me try it now. Oh. Have you? I don't know. I now can't get into the... Oh, okay. What am I doing? Just nothing?
Sit there and we'll try to get there.
Alright, I can come back on. I might do it on here now, though.
Hello, are we back? Can you hear me? This is what it's all about, isn't it? Tuesday night championship football from the Kai and Prince Stadium. Welcome along. If you can hear me, if you can see me, just let me know in the comments below. I did a speed test earlier on here because, we've been a bit hit and miss with internet speeds. Yes, thank you very much, Dave Gardner. We've done, we're a bit hit and miss with internet speeds all around the country. And as we travel up and down. And I did a speed test from here earlier today and it was unreal. And this is the first time that I've been booted out. Right, thank you, Sue. Thank you, Present Change. Thank you, Dave. You can see me, you can hear me. That's fantastic. Here's what I want to know from you. Just a little reminder again. Sue has got us started on this. Let me just pull it up. Sue McLeod has got us started. We're trying to find out the perfect wanderer, the anatomy of the chairboy that you would like to see wear the quarters as frequently as possible from history. Sue would have a bit of Paul Hyde in goal, some of Jason Cousins tackle. Stop it. A dash of Steve Guppy as well, a little bit of flair, finished off with Sean Devine. Who would you like to see? I want to, physical characteristics as well. Whose hair would you like to see? I'm going for Sergio Torres's. What about you? Whose face are we having? Are we having JJ's left foot, Bayo's chest, Bayo's bicep? Let me know in the comments below. We'll crack through those. And now let's get the team music in, shall we? Try it one more time with Matt Cecil, who's moved a little bit next to me. So there might be some interference with audio, but let's see how we get on. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, all right, thanks, Dan. I don't know what happened there, but thankfully nobody swore live on air during that little drop in internet. So, I think we were just going through the back four at the time. Joe Jacobson, captain, Jason McCarthy keeping his place at right back, Tafazoli and Josh Knight, centre halves. And then, you're sort of guessing it'll be Admiral Musquet and Alex Samuel up top, which leaves Gape and Thompson coming back into the midfield, and wingers in Horgan and, you've got Mehmeti as well, so probably more likely to be some form of diamond, potentially 4-3-1-2. Musquet could play wide right potentially if Horgan is on the left. So, options for the boss. It's four changes. It was four changes at the weekend against Stoke and the team lost. So, do you keep faith with the side that lost? Well, most managers wouldn't and don't, and they like to give the opportunities. A strong-looking bench, though, certainly. Ryan Allsop obviously has had a fantastic season and probably won't get his place now unless David Stockdale has a couple of bad games. You'd have thought Jack Grimmer, Anthony Stewart, Uche Piezu, Scott Cashkit, Gareth McCleary, Bayo Akinfenwa, Fred Onyedinma, and Namdi Offable. That 9 on the bench put you in the top 6 in League One, with a couple of additions obviously to make the 11. What a strong bench that is, and ready to be called upon if needed. QPR, they've named an unchanged side. Real threats for them will be obviously Charlie Austin up front. What a career he's had, and a brilliant story as well, being plucked from non-league, given his chance from Poole Town into Swindon, and then working his way up and becoming an established Premier League player, and now kind of starring for QPR. Their keeper's had a really good season. Seny Dieng, we saw him on loan for Doncaster last year. Really good distribution, really good shot stopper. So he'll be a tough one to crack tonight. Rob Dickey, the big centre-half, signed from Oxford in the summer. He played in the playoff final. He's a talented centre-half who'll win a lot of things in the air. And then Jordi Dewisi made his debut at the weekend, a really kind of like combative midfield player. Ilias Chair, everybody assumes he should be a Wycombe player at some point just because he's a chair boy. He's a lively player, scored some phenomenal goals for Stevenage on loan a couple of years ago. And then, you only have to look at their subs-bench, the likes of Albert Adoma, and Lyndon Dykes, who's a Scottish international who they signed in the summer. Strengths that QPR have got. Mark Warburton certainly turned a corner with them in the past couple of months, since Austin's arrival, really, because they did look relegation contenders, I think, candidates. And I think those fans that saw Wycombe play against QPR in December, we nicked a 1-1 draw. We probably should have won it. There was a contentious penalty decision that we weren't given because of a handball that Gavin Ward didn't spot. But they've kicked on since then. I don't think they're in any danger of the drop now. I think they're going in the top half if they win tonight. But it shouldn't be a game that holds fear for Wycombe. Wycombe are in the Championship for a reason, and QPR away, do you know what, with their record, I don't think they have a great record at all against bottom half sides this season. They picked up some surprise wins against Brentford and Watford, but this one tonight, I fancy Wycombe to spring a surprise, to score the first goal, and maybe if they do that, they go on and win the game.
Your encyclopedic knowledge never ceases to amaze me. You mentioned something a little earlier on about how Gareth would have worked on the training pitch with Samuel, with Musquet, with Mehmeti breaking forward. It's a struggle to see how working out different systems happens this season, because it's 2 games so frequently, 3 games a week. You're on Saturday, Tuesday, sometimes even Sundays as well. How do you reckon they go about this on the training ground, Matt? How much of a different side are we going to see them play? Or are we going to play like Uche's up front, but it's Samuel there?
Yeah, I think the staff have always got combinations up their sleeve. They'll have worked on things involving Alex Samuel in a starting lineup last week or the week before, because they'll have known that was going to be a card that they were going to play at some point. Now that opportunity may have come earlier because of injuries. It may have come later had we won at Stoke and we'd stuck with the same side. The boys are encouraged to stay sharp and stay ready. It's not a big squad, so it only takes an injury or two and any player in the squad could be called into the side. They'll have had yesterday. They may have done some light session or shape work maybe before getting on the bus this afternoon. Obviously, it's only a local game for them. You'd have thought on the bus back from Stoke on Saturday, Gareth and Dobbo would have been looking at QPR again on the videotape, looking back at the Stoke game and thinking, where were we short? Where did we fall short? And where can we hurt QPR? And it's probably then that, a conversation brewed, right, this is maybe our approach for Tuesday night. Why don't we give Alex Samuel a go? He's been chomping at the bit. Maybe he's been flying in training. I haven't had access up there this year. It's obviously been kept as COVID-free as possible and we don't take any risks up there. So it's very limited personnel. So I haven't seen the boys in training. But, Alex Samuel may have had a really prolific spell. He might be out training everyone and working harder. And Gareth is more than happy to give players that kind of reward if they do that. So, it has been tough with this ridiculous training schedule. 6 midweeks in a row. There's another one next week against Barnsley. Then we go into an international break, which will be a nice breather for the squad, particularly if there are no call-ups. It'd be good for the players really to have a couple of weeks with no travelling and no games to play. And hopefully at that point, we have something to cling on to going into then that final stretch of the season, if we can pick up some wins between now and then.
Lastly, I'm asking everyone watching for the anatomy of a chair, or the wanderer, the perfect chair boy. I know this is a feature that you worked on like a decade ago for the programme. Do you remember who made the perfect chair boy back then?
It was something to do with you'd have a left hand of Martin Taylor and a right of Paul Hyde, because you can't choose between the goalkeepers. Surely Sergio's hair had to feature in there. I think I had Hart in there. I think I had maybe Keith Ryan's Hart, for his his passion on the pitch and his longevity to the club. There were some odd ones in there as well. I think backside, of course. Who's got the greatest backside? And I'm not talking in the way you think I am. Danny Bullman, who scored with his first ever touch in the Football League off his backside, closing down a goalkeeper against Bristol Rovers. So the greatest backside in Wycombe Wanderers history is Danny Bullman. And I'm sure there's many fans who'd have different opinions on the best backsides. But Danny Bullman gets my vote. So, yeah, it's a fun game to play once you really delve deep into it. But I think it's probably time I start.
All right, yeah, we'll clip that. Cheers, Matt. Thanks for joining us, mate. So there you go. That's Matt's Anatomy of a Perfect Wanderer with Danny Bullman's perfect backside. Let me know yours in the comments below. Now, we're going to catch up with a QPR fan and journalist in just a sec, so he can talk us through actually what's happening here at the Kai and Prince Stadium, whether they really are as good as some recent runners suggest, or whether the last 5 is really what they're like. So let me know in the comments below who makes the anatomy of your perfect wanderer. And very quickly, let's remember what happened back in December, the last time these two clubs met at Adams Park, when Wycombe came back to get a 1-1 draw and sneak a point. The arrival of Anis Mehmeti as a chairboy there, sneaking a point just before Christmas. It's 25 minutes till kickoff. This is one of those games that, because it's been rescheduled, if you're a season ticket holder, you will need to buy your iFollow pass over at wwfc.com. We're talking about the anatomy of the perfect chairboy. Kathy Locke wants one of Gareth Ainsworth's hands. I'm sure Gareth had a hand in a goal once. I think we can't comment on that one, Kathy. Thank you very much for getting in touch. Right, let's see how QPR really have fared recently, and bring in QPR fan and journalist Nick Tunney onto Chairboys Live. Nick, thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Internet's a little bit sketchy up your ends, mate. So if I suddenly drop off, I'll close the whole thing down. I just thought I'd warn you. So okay. you just saw the highlights there. And I'll be honest, I was at the game back in Adams Park, and I didn't think QPR were up to that much. But then you bring in Charlie Austin and suddenly start setting the league on fire. Take us through, is that really how it's been? Were those results meriting the performances?
Yeah, I think, Austin's arrival has obviously helped massively. It's not just that, though. There's a multitude of things, formation being another. At that time in December, and that it was, some really turgid performances. We weren't playing well, kind of going through the motions, really. One up top, 3-1, and then kind of Austin's arrival, we changed the system. Wing backs, 3 at the back and 2 up front, and it's paid dividends. Austin scored in his debut at Luton. I think he's got number 4 since. He scored winners at Watford, against Brentford. We've beaten some very good teams along the way, Bournemouth as well. So but it isn't just him. I think the formation suits the players a lot better. Stephanie Hansen in on loan from Fulham has been great as well. And winning breeds confidence. And they went on a great run, had a little bit of a wobble, but bounced back on Saturday. So hopefully they'll pull off another win tonight.
Well, you say that, but we were commenting earlier on today, and I don't want to speak too soon, but it's something we actually haven't managed to do this season. You managed to lose to Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, I managed to watch that game, 1-0 up and in control for the most part, and we had chances to kill it off at 2-0, and then, sucker punch right at the end, and, it was a disappointing result, and then we go and lose to Barnsley. I mean, they're a very good team, and they're absolutely flying, but we didn't play particularly well against them, and then the manager, to be fair to him, he likes to keep the same team. He doesn't like to make too many changes, but he freshened it up for Bristol City at the weekend, and we were well in control of that game from the start. So, and again, playing the same team as Saturday. So, I think I like the team that we're playing again. I think it's a good side, and it will cause a lot of teams problems at this level, to be honest.
Well, let's hope it doesn't today. Listen, talking about Charlie Austin, is it a Charlie Austin that's probably right to be in the Championship right now? Or is it Charlie Austin that really should be in the Premier League, but he's come back because he loves the club so much?
That's a good question. I think he is a Championship player now. Obviously, a top-level Championship striker still. It's not just that. I mean, he has a real affinity with the club, and since he's come in, you can see the enthusiasm, and everyone's game has kind of lifted a level. I suspect, he's a real character in the dressing room. And you've got someone who cares about the club that much. It's bound to rub off on other people. So he's still got that knack of finding space in the box. And if the chance presents itself in the area, 9 times out of 10 it's in the back of the net. So he's just got that striker's instinct, really. And we've seen that in many games so far since he came back. So
QPR 16th in the league, 43 points. Is that kind of it for the season, do you reckon? The next 10 or however many games we got, that's kind of where you'll fare, or do you fancy a late push?
No, I fancy us to finish top half. I think that'd be a good season, considering the players we got rid of. Eze in the summer, and obviously Samuel leaving the club in January. I think the top half would be a decent return, especially, Christmas time or just before that. We were bottom 5 and only 3 points above the bottom 3. So the turnaround has been vast, and I think the top half finish, even top 10 would be ideal. There's still a lot to play for, and we've got a run of fixtures now that we're playing teams kind of below us. So I think the manager and the squad will be looking to pick up some points.
And I mean, next season, obviously the Championship's such a volatile league. We don't know exactly who's coming down from the Premier League, but with Charlie Austin at the club, if next season he kind of sticks around, do you see a big push for promotion under Warburton? Because he's got you playing lovely football.
Well, I mean, it's not just him. I mean, I think, there'd be a lot to talk about if Austin signs permanently, wages and everything. And, West Brom, possibly going to get relegated, they might want to keep him. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through. It's not just him, but as I say, Johansson, again, if Fulham stay up, I'd like to think there's a chance that we could sign him permanently. He really is a top player at this level. I mean, I'm very surprised we managed to get him, and other teams didn't snap him up. He's a really, really good footballer. I don't know. It all depends, really. Money situation, with everything going on in the world and stuff. But someone like Austin at this level, if he can keep fit and we can sign him, he's going to bag 20 goals. So, that would be a real statement of intent from the club.
Now, although you don't want to give away secrets, how can we get at you today? I mean, we've set up a team, Gareth Ainsworth set up a team with 2 very nippy strikers up front, strikers that like to press. That's what we're thinking is going to happen. Will it work? How can we get at you, Nick?
I saw the team, and I know
did you raise
probably
the eyebrow?
I know Rick Piazza's been playing really well for Wycombe. I'm not surprised, if you are going to get at us, although I like the back, all 3 of them, especially Rob Dickey's been brilliant this season. The the one thing I'd say is they're not the quickest. And that is a way you can get us, press us high up the pitch. You know, as Warburton says many times, when we're on the front foot, we're a really good team. But when we're on the back foot, he's even said it, you know, we're pretty average. So, you know, pin us in our half a bit. I do think that is the best way and push our wing backs back. You know, Todd Kane especially has been in really good form. So I would say that's probably the way to try and keep us quiet.
Worst possible situation for you this season is what? Fulham staying up, Chelsea getting into Champions League, and Brentford going up as well?
Oh, God. Do you know what? I've got nothing against Fulham. The other two teams a little bit more. I mean, you know, we beat Brentford the other week, which was great. You know, they've been smashing us the last few games before that. But, yeah, it wouldn't be ideal if Brentford went up, I've got to say. But, you know, so fingers crossed that, you know, they don't get automatic promotion or go up via the playoffs. But Chelsea, you know, I can't really worry about them too much. You know, they're in a different league. But yeah, I wouldn't like to see Brentford go up. No.
Now, what's the score going to be?
Well, I said a draw at Adams Park. I think I said 1-1. So, but I do think, you know, if we can replicate performance on Saturday, I think that's going to be a bit too much for we are. You know, do you know what? I think we'll edge it 2-1. You know, these are the type of games, you know, teams below us, you know, I wouldn't like to see us take our foot off the pedal. And you've got the players that can punish us. And, you know, I've seen it over the years with Gareth's teams. They don't give anything less than 110%. So it's going to be a very hard game. But I think the way we're playing and everything, I just think we might edge this one. But, you know, I'm going to say a win to us. Only just.
Why do I insist on asking people that question? Nick, Tony, thank you so much for joining us, mate. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks, mate.
Oh, bye-bye. Of course, doesn't know what he's talking about, does he? Please, doesn't know what he's talking about. Great journalist, but doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen, very quickly before we go, let's just run through a couple more of the anatomy of the perfect chair boys. Steve McCafferty with a great shout. Stefan Oakes' left foot. What a graceful player Stefan Oakes was. My dad wasn't a massive fan because he wasn't the most industrious of players, was he? He was a guy that used to love the ball in the centre spot, used to love to ping it with the left boot, and took a fantastic free kick when he fancied it as well. Stephen, thank you for getting in touch. Now, as I mentioned, because this is a rearranged game, this won't be free on your iFollow if you've got a season ticket, so you'll need to go and get that now over at wwfc.com. 15 minutes to kick off. You're in a very privileged position to have both Matt Cecil and myself on commentary. So a few people on Twitter will be absolutely delighted about that. Can't wait to read that later. Thank you very much for watching another Chairboys Live. Fingers crossed for all 3 points. Let's take them away from West London and a fantastic performance and some goals for Samuel I'm feeling today. Come on the Chairboys. Thanks very much for watching.